Hello. Welcome to Conscious Heart Co-Creation. It's time to become the full potential of our divine selves, creating the world we desire through our thoughts, emotions, and imagination. Hello and welcome. Today my guest is LauraLee Mistycah. Hi, LauraLee.
Hello there. Woohoo, we got together finally.
Yes. Let me tell y'all a little bit about LauraLee. LauraLee has been a holistic health practitioner for over 4 decades as a reflexologist, medical intuitive, rapid eye therapist, and muscle skeletal balancer. She also developed a variety of innovative healing methods, many she can do remotely. Her work has taken her beyond the fringe in order to find the answers to why people are sick and crazy. She calls herself a weird shit specialist and even has that on her business card. LauraLee, also known as Witchy Woman, is also a professional ghostbuster and has morphed into what she calls a futuristic sorceress. She collaborates with the Aulmauracite Rocks magical mystical stone of truth and justice to protect and assist her and her clients in managing the seen and unseen worlds, and also to outwit the dark lords who have hijacked this planet. She was under much crossfire in 2007 for exposing the hidden agenda behind the chakras, the kundalini, the astral plane, and the AI. LauraLee continues to be at the cutting edge of exposing the hidden agendas and threats behind what was previously considered immutable facts of how systems and our holographic universe work. LauraLee has written and published 5 books and has created a small rescue farm for chickens, ducks, and other critters. She is a huge advocate for exposing the evils of factory farms. Wow. All right. Hi,
Yeah,
LauraLee, I'm sorry.
hi there.
Um,
That's okay.
I I'm gonna jump in and get you. I always like to have my guests. The first thing I ask my guests to tell us is a little bit of your story about how you were initiated or awakened to your work, the work that you're doing on this planet. And yeah, so can you tell us a little bit about how that happened for you?
Oh, my weird shit past. Yes. Well, let's see. It probably started after I left the Mormon Church in the early '90s. And when I left the Mormon Church, I didn't know what I believed. I had to wipe the board clean and start all over because I just didn't know anything. And so I, like a lot of people do, went into the a lot of the venues of the New Age movement, which that back then that's what everybody did, and the internet wasn't around at that time, so it was really hard to network with people. I didn't know anybody that had left the Mormon Church like I did, and so it was just kind of really hard to find my way around. And one time I was trying to get some clarity on who my guides are and what's going on. And I didn't have the rocks at this time, okay? So I was like just doing breathing and just trying to get centered. And this guide started talking to me and telling me stuff, and he was kind of funny. He kept telling me jokes and stuff, and I thought, well, you're kind of different. And I said, so who are you? What do I call you? And I'm thinking something like, oh, guru, master, blah blah blah, or some Pleiadian whatever, or And he said, you can just call me Hal. You can call me your pal Hal. I'm like, Hal? Like the only thing I'm thinking is 2001: A Space Odyssey. I'm like, Hal? Really? He said, yeah, that works. I'm like, oh my gosh. So that was my introduction to him, and then he kept coming in and helping me, and then I realized like who he really is, and if you think of this universe is in the holographic model, there's and there's a lot of evidence now. Back then there was, I had read Holographic Universe, so I kind of knew what was going on. But Hal is not from inside this hologram. He is from outside the hologram, and he is actually the chief operations officer of this hologram. And so he's like directing everything, and I'm like, whoa, that's pretty cool. And he always is trying to lighten things up and say, you got to laugh. When things are crappy, you got to laugh because it will change your mood, it will change your head, it'll get you out of some really crazy things and help you think straight. And so I've been, the laughing, I started making, in fact, I have those on my website, humor parties, where you get together instead of going to church. It's the universal, unified family of sacred humor beings, the only religion of utter nonsense that makes sense. And so the whole idea of it is to get your friends together, and I've got these funny games to play that really help you get in touch with yourself, but it's just like funny. And so you laugh yourself silly for an hour or so, and then you go home, and lots of healing happens. And I thought, what a novel idea for a church. I can kind of spearhead this church.
Oh, that sounds cool.
And so, doesn't that sound awesome? Just get together once a week with your friends and just laugh your butts off.
Yes.
So, I later on, I put that together, and he has just been there for me. I told you this little story, but I'll tell you with more detail. About 50, longer than that, maybe 18 years ago, I had connected with this guy whose family was, I called him the leather cult, because everything they did had to do with leather. They'd have leather sheets, leather bedspreads, leather towel. Everything was about leather. And I'm like, what the heck? This is like creepy, weird. And so I was working to help this guy untangle from that. And all of a sudden, on my chest, on the right side, I had these points where it felt like somebody had stabbed me, and it was bruised. And I kept looking to see if there was any blood or, how I got scraped. There's nothing there. And day after day, it would get worse and worse and worse, and to the point it was hard to breathe. I'm like, shoot, this is not good. I can't hardly breathe. I had to have my daughter in the car with me when I would drive, because I couldn't drive. She'd have to do the stick shift. I couldn't do it. Every time I pushed my arm a certain way, I just couldn't do it. And so it was really bad. And so I was at my Ghostbuster partner's house, Ronnie. He said something kind of funny, and I started laughing. I put my hand on my chest, and I said, oh, don't do that. That hurts. It's really funny, but don't do that. So then she couldn't help but, say something else funny. And so pretty soon we're both laughing, and I thought, what, this is what I need. So pretty soon we are both laughing our tails off, down on the floor, like rolling, like literally on the floor. I have not laughed like that, like, I don't know, maybe when I was a kid, I don't know. But laughing really hard, and everything was funny. We had more fun that night, and we did that for like a solid hour. And when we were done, we were just exhausted, but happy. So she goes up the stairs and off to bed. And I laid down, took a few deep breaths, and the pain in my chest was 70% better. It had improved. And through the next few days, I think within a week, it was all gone. So going from you're going to die to it's all getting better. And the frequencies in the laughter is what broke that up. And I don't think these jerks that put that curse on me had any clue that I could undo their curse, and especially not with laughter. I mean, like, who even thinks about that? And so that was a very in my face reality check on what laughter can do.
They say laughter is the best medicine. So, and it does, it raises your frequency.
Totally.
That's awesome story.
It does. And if it can break a spell, especially a voodoo spell, it's pretty powerful stuff.
Yeah.
So I said, thank you, Hal. That just kind of got me started. And let's see. So then I asked Hal. I said, and this is again back in the beginning, in the early 90s. I said, Hal, what am I supposed to be doing here? And he said, write. I'm like, write what? He said, write. You're supposed to write. And I'm like, I don't know, maybe a little article for our little metaphysical magazine or something. And he's like, you'll understand. I'm like, okay. And then also he told me, you see if I can tell you. Yep, I can say this. There was two main things I'm here on the planet to do. One of them is to write, and I'll tell you more about writing. And the other one is to be a major player in busting the monetary system.
Yay.
I'm like, oh yeah, me, little me in a little tiny apartment, barely making it, take on the Illuminati. Are you freaking kidding me, Hal? Really? Like, what? So, then, 30 years later, here I am doing all sorts of things to the Dark Lords that think that they have full rights to control everything here, and especially money or currency. I call it currency because it's all about current, like whether it's the water current or it's all about currency.
Yeah.
So I'm getting a major upgrade in understanding on what Hal really meant. And so then the first book that I wrote was, they were kind of there together, was Got Ghosts, the bizarre but true tales of the Ghostbuster gals. And there's some really creepy, scary stories, but it lets you know we put all the tools, like the Kryahgenetics egg and the Aulmauracite Rocks. We do not do a ghost busting without our clients having had their place. If it's their house that's haunted, it's like, okay, you're going to have to go and grid that with the 5 grid rocks, one on all 4 corners of the outside, one in the middle, so that you can use that as the center stone. And once you put the grid in, and you use the center stone to give it instructions, and then you place it, and you can just feel the grid go poof, and it just very, very powerful. And then if you forgot something, you can go pick up the center stone and say, oh, by the way, I'd like blah, 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 also in this grid. And then you set it back down and it goes boom, and it's there.
Well, you're talking about your rocks. You have mentioned the rocks a couple times, and so how about you tell us about those?
Okay, the rocks, yes. The rocks I got shortly after. It was also in maybe the early to mid 90s. I had a friend that came over and he said, and he was like a rock hound, and he was into a lot of stuff. He came and he said, I have something in the back of my truck, and I think I've discovered gold. And, and I go out and look, and there's these black shiny rocks in his back of his truck. And I said, I picked it up, and I'm like, whoa. And I said, you got gold, but it's not what you think. And then we had it assayed, and it's got every known element on the periodic table in this rock.
Wow.
And he said that doesn't happen. And then there's some things in there that when I had it assayed, they don't even know what it is. And that's because it's a space rock. It's not from here.
Oh.
So, and you can read that about that on my website and in the books about where it came from, and how it was uncovered at a time, which is like right now, around the turn of the century, when a lot of people would be waking up, and we would need the rocks to help us on our journeys here and on our missions.
Yeah.
So that's the rocks in a nutshell. Oh, and I found out you cannot, if you put plastic around them, they can't breathe. And so you don't ever want to put it in a plastic bag or something, because you do that and they come out and they're just like, so that don't be mean to your rocks and put them in plastic.
I heard about the rocks through Sienna, my previous guest, and I was like, I'm a rock hound. I was like, what? I got to get some. So I'm wearing one of your pendants right now, and I never take it off. And you gifted me the rocks for a grid, and I have set up a grid. And so yeah, I didn't know that they were
How did
space
that feel
rocks.
when you did that?
When I set up the grid?
Tell me what, and how you felt when you got your pendant. Tell me
Oh,
how
well,
that felt.
I put it on, immediately, and I was wearing it, and I think the first night I decided, I'm like, oh, I can't wear this, sleep with this necklace around my neck. So I took it off. And I don't really know what happened. It's not like a ghost came or got me or whatever, but I just woke up the next morning and I said, I'm never taking this off again. and and
I
so I feel,
agree.
yeah, it was, and I'm going to order uh bigger rocks to like hold in my
Some
hand.
rocks to hold
Yeah,
on to.
because I
Yeah,
use rocks a lot, and yeah, this I
you're gonna love your pet rocks when you get them. They're going to be your besties. I sleep with mine. I always have a bedrock that I sleep with, and I don't go anywhere without them. They're like your best friends. They're your allies. They're your protectors. They're your friends. Stone of truth and justice. Hey, it doesn't get any better than that.
right.
So.
Right. So yeah, I'm thrilled. And I'll tell the funny story of I contacted you. Um, I think it was last week or something, and I was like, "Hey, I think you said you shouldn't have plastic on this, and I'm pretty sure that my pendant is made out of plastic." And you wrote me back pretty quickly, and I was like, "What?" It's like, I think you're confused, or I'm confused. And I'm like, and then I tapped it on my wooden desk, and I was like, "What a nut." And I said, "Yeah, I'm the confused one. Sorry." And that was when I knew. It was
Oh,
like,
that's funny.
when we laughed so much, I was like, I have to get you on my show so we can laugh our way through all of this craziness.
That is great. I love that story. That's really cute. So that was our introduction to each other.
Yeah.
I think that's cute.
You were very
Oh
understanding.
my.
Thank you.
Oh, no problem. Well, unless you like read all the fine print and stuff, you probably didn't know it was borosilicate glass. And let me tell you something about them. Every once in a while, now I had these when I tested them to make sure that they would be, sturdy. I was throwing them on the ground and stomping on them, and I'm like, yeah, these are pretty tough. And then every once in a while, somebody will get one, and if they're under a lot of psychic attack or something, they'll break.
Ooh.
It's like I had one break when I was in my office, and I was, what was I even doing? And I had one in my hand. I don't know if I was filling it or what I was doing, filling an order, and I dropped it on this very foamy, fuzzy carpet, real spongy, and it broke. I'm like, what? There's no way in hell that it could break on the fuzzy carpet. I can go out and stomp on it on the concrete and it doesn't do anything, and then it does that. Well, then there was another one. It was in this wicker basket, and I was filling a whole bunch of rocks for the black cord pendants, and it was just that it had been filled and it was waiting for its cord. And I put my hand in there and I felt something scratch my hand. I'm like, what the hell? And so I'm looking in there and there's dust all over the bottom, and one of them had cracked in this little basket. So what I was getting is that I was under serious attack at that time, and instead of cracking me open or like a bullet, it went after, and that pendant said, okay, I'll take the bullet for you. And same thing when it fell on my carpet. And another thing, when they will move, like you can put them, in a certain place, and you come back and you're like, where did it go? And sometimes they'll go away for like a week or two, and then they'll come back, but not always in the same place. There was one lady that found it in her medicine chest, and she said, I would never, ever have put it in my medicine chest. And so,
well, that's good to
so just know that,
because if I get one and it disappears, I'll know.
If it disappears, what I tell people, if yours disappears, call it back. And if it's not back within a week or two, if it's a rock or a black cord pendant, I will replace it. Now, the sterling silver ones, that you might have to pay a little for that, but for the rock or a black cord pendant, I will replace those, because I know that they can do that. And I've heard lots of stories about how they just came up missing, and then they were there, but not in the same place they left them. And so they are truly interdimensional. And we keep finding out more things that they can do, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I cannot.
That's so cool.
Just when you think they are as good as they can get, you find out something new. Well, then you have to understand that the Kryahgenetics egg, and Kryahgenetics means it's an encompassment and direction of magnetic fields with tone and sound, light and color, geometry and math, and love and compassion. And so this was again back in the early 90s, mid 90s, and I thought it was doodling one day, and I started drawing this egg, and then I was just kind of obsessed, and I had to make sure it was all perfect, and it had to have that star at the top, and then it had to have a diamond at the bottom, and then to me it kind of looked like curtains were being pulled back on so you could see what was inside the egg. And then it had to have a DNA helix in the middle, a 3-strand. It looks like 2, but there's a 3rd strand in back there. And I'm just like, whoa, what is this? And then I was like, well, it's the Kryahgenetics egg. I'm like, whoa. And then I found out that the egg is the spiritual aspect of the physical rock. I'm like, holy crap, that makes so much sense.
So they work together?
They work together. And so in my night's training, I show you how to work with the rocks and work with the eggs, and how the eggs can be a extreme protective protocol. You've got the picture, so you can see it with the guy in the middle of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I do have the picture,
They
but you said something about in your what training? Your Knights training?
the Knights training. Yes. I on my website there's the Knights Training Academy, and it's got 5 classes.
KNI. Okay.
KNIGHTS.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right, because we are modern day knights,
Okay.
okay? Yes, we are. And there's an intro class that helps you get in touch with your inner warrior knight. And there's unplugging. The first class is unplugging, the key to self empowerment, and teaches different ways to just. Well, I've got a picture. I'll have to send it to you. It's a skeleton in the Zen position. He's got his legs crossed and he's got his fingers in the Zen position. And the caption says, "Let that shit go." So it helps you to let that shit go.
Yeah.
and so you learn that in class number 1. Class number 2 is finding and removing and neutralizing implants. And so you have to have a rock and use eggs to do that. The third one is forced agreement voiding and the spiral curse reversal ceremony. You learn how to do that. And that is amazing. I did one 3 days ago. I've got to do another one today. But if you do 3 in a row, changes the movie, changes everything. You really see a big difference. And, let's face it, who doesn't have curses on them? We've all got curses on us. Even if you don't know anybody that does black magic, you've got curses on you because the Dark Lords here curse everybody. So everybody needs to know how to do that. And then the next one is a timeline and soul retrieval therapy session. So you learn how to get on your timeline and how to use your Kryahgenetics egg to maneuver up and down the timeline. And that's a real fascinating one. And then the last one is psychic energy debris sweeping training and showing you how to get rid of different psychic energies that will stick on you unless you figure out how to get them off. And so, the Knights training is awesome.
Sounds it.
So, be sure and and they're only $25. Each one is $25. If you want all 5 of them, you get it's $125 for all 5 classes. So,
are those some of the services that you do for people as well?
Yes, I will help people because some of these implants, and we just found out recently, like in the last 6 months, they are embedded so the person cannot take out their own. Now, what I like to do is teach people how to do this so that they can, get their motors running and then they can do it themselves and maybe help somebody else do it.
Right.
But there are some implants that you cannot do yourself. You have to have somebody else take them out. Yeah. And I thought, well, that makes a lot of sense because there was, I had Daniel, the guy that does the videos with me, he just took out a huge one a few days ago, and I was just like in tears. I'm like, I know everything that you're saying, and I couldn't have done that myself. And in fact, I think he's probably the only person on the planet that had the tools and everything and the SSP training to be able to know how to do it and where to go. And so his SSP training was serving him at that time.
SSP for those, SSP for those that don't know is Secret Space Program.
Thank you.
I haven't had anybody talking about that on here yet.
Okay.
But I have mentioned it and it has been brought up. So he learned how to do that when he was in the Secret Space Program.
Well, he started uncovering all of the things that they trained him to do. He was a healer there and used plants and stuff to heal when some of their people, and they did, if they didn't have a med bed, they would take some of the people to him to heal with hands-on healing and with herbs and things like that. So he and he found that out, by doing timeline work. So
Wow.
it can be it will change your life. I mean, this stuff is when health said to write, I had no idea what was coming up in my future. I did not know that I would write 5 books. Um, there was a ghost book, and then there was the Indigo book, Living in an Indigo House, The Heartaches and Victories of First Wave Indigos. And that book, when you look at it, it's kind of sideways. It's like um, instead of up and down, it's horizontal.
Right.
And you can tell if you give that book to somebody, you can tell if they're an indigo or not. If they're an indigo, they pick it up and they start opening it up like a calendar. If they're not, they look at the front cover, then turn it like a normal book and try to read it that way, and then they'll cock their heads and and they get all contorted trying to read this book because they don't understand indigo-ness.
Well,
That you can just
what for those that don't know, what are indigos? I mean, I think
okay.
it's become pretty, I mean, to me, it seems like it's being used more, but there are
It is.
probably people
Okay, yeah.
listening that don't know
Oh,
what
I'm
indigos
sure there
are.
are. I'm
Yeah.
sure there are. So I will explain that. And thank you for stopping me because I just go and I need to backtrack.
No, that's
So
fine.
that
I'm
the
loving your stories, but yeah, I'm catching things that I think, oh, I'm not sure everybody knows what an indigo
I'm
is.
glad you did. I'm glad you did. So I call them. At the time they were all talking about, oh, little indigo children. This is back in the 80s, and I'm like,
Right. I
you
remember
know
that.
what? There's indigos that weren't. Um, and so I found out from Hal that there's what we call first wave indigos coming in about 1945 to 1995. Those are the first wavers. But they came in mass in 1969 to 1987. And so 30% of those at that time were boomers. And 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 so the new age people didn't even think about older people. They just were focusing on these little indigo children. Well, then the second wave started coming in about 1995, and they wave hasn't come in yet. Oh, okay, and it seems to be like a 50-year thing. So there will be second wave indigos for several more decades.
Uh-huh.
Then there's the crystal children, and they are from. Oh, okay, I got to backtrack here. The first wave indigos, the reason that they see blue and purple is because they are from the ultraviolet realm. And there's one inside this hologram, and there's one outside. And so a lot of our helpers are from the ultraviolet realm, both inside and outside. And then the crystal children, who are now getting to be older, are actually infrareds. And they came from the infrared realm, which is back home in the realm, home on the realm. I just wanted to sing that, home on the realm. um, they um, their gig is healing, okay? And if you look at infrared flashlights that you see, and they look like crystals in it, little sparkly things,
Mhm.
that's kind of what the crystal infrared realm is like. It's sparkly, it's crystally, and they came in mass. They started coming in mass at the turn of the century in about 2000. So now we got indigos and we got crystals and all working together to do our thing here. And here we are now.
What are like some of the missions of an indigo? And do most of them know that, hey, I'm different and I'm here
So,
for a
oh,
mission?
yeah. What in the book, First Wave Indigos, There's a whole list of traits, and some of them they know, but some of them they don't. It's like they were in special classes, and now we know that some of those special classes were SSP related classes, like um, the GATE program and things like that. Oh yeah, oh yeah. And they totally got put in them because they just know how to do things without. And people say, well, who taught you that? Well, I don't know. I just know how to do it. And they don't do authority very well at all. It's like, oh, you think you're going to tell me what to do? I don't think so. I don't think so. And they are very compassionate. And truth and justice are their gig too. They're all about that. But they're very into animal rights things and compassion. You see them in a lot of jobs where they can go in and change the system, and that's really important to them.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's kind of it in a nutshell. There, if you go on my website, firstwaveindigos.com, it gives all of the traits for indigos. So you can read those and chalk them off. And if you got like 80% of those you chalked off, you're an indigo. Nobody has all of them. You just don't. But if you got 80%, you can pretty much be affirmed that you are. And they just think different. And they always feel so weird and left out. Like in schools, it's like, I'm just not like these other kids, or most of them. Maybe they would find an indigo friend or something, but especially back in the 80s and stuff, they were always wandering off by themselves, and a lot of them would rather be by themselves than in a crowd of people that just creeped them out. And they love nature. They will go out in nature. They love to walk on the ground without shoes. It's all the nature is their nature's their religion. It's like, let's just go hang out with the plants and the animals and the air and the water, and that's our religion.
And pretty early, I think you said like the 49 and stuff, and
they started coming in 45.
So we've been getting help on the planet for a while.
Yes. That I was born in 55, so I knew I was weird and stuff, but I didn't have a clue until I started, until Hal helped me kind of sort this out and realize, and especially at the turn of the century, that's when everybody had the internet. Before that, nobody did, and you just felt like you were a lone wolf out there, and nobody could get you. Nobody understood you.
Right.
And then when the internet came online, then there was more connection and more information shared, and it started getting easier and easier. But before that, it was rough.
Yeah.
It wasn't rough for us old timers.
Yeah. No, I was born in 58. I know what you're talking about. In terms of feeling, if you felt different, I was like, well, you're on your own. And now, one of the, I guess, good things about the internet is that
oh yeah, it is. It's a double-edged sword for sure,
yes,
but there's some really good things. We could not have. It's like with the rocks. They couldn't have come here any time before. I couldn't have gotten them any time before that because nobody connected. What are you going to do? Snail mail things?
Right.
Kind of we did at first, but it wasn't like it is now, and they needed to be here. When you go on my website and read about the story behind the rocks, it's pretty cosmic. It's pretty amazing, and so they couldn't. It was useless for them to come because we couldn't connect with each other.
Right.
So
Everything in
it's,
divine time, right?
yep, the timing is everything,
Yep. That is so true. Do you still do a lot of ghost busting? I'm just curious about that because that
Oh,
sounds like something,
oh,
Ghostbusters. It's like that's
ghost
from like a
busting.
long
Oh,
time ago.
yeah, it was a long time ago. I have some funny stories to tell you about ghost busting. Um, we and this is when I was first starting to understand about the egg, right? So we were ghost busting the Amargosa Hotel and Opera House in Nevada, and you'll have to look it up. I mean, that place has got history. I tell you what, and there was all of these people. There's tons of ghosts in there, tons of them. The lady that worked there, she could hear them. She was definitely an indigo, and she said, "I'm gonna get you some help. I don't know where, but I'm gonna get you some help." And then she came across us, and we happened to be doing mining or something in Nevada. So anyway, we got together, checked it out, and realized there's a lot going on here. This is a lot. So we set up a time to do it, and we got in a circle. There was like I think 6 of us that were there. It seems like to me when I think back on it, it seems like a huge circle of people, but it was just like 6. The lady that was the front office worker, so was in this circle with us, and we started, right then I was just starting to understand about the egg, okay,
Uh-huh.
and so we're all standing there in a circle, and here comes this guy. He's like peering out from, like we're out in the desert. There's nothing out there, and there used to be an old gas station there. He's like lurking around the old gas station, and then all of a sudden he makes a beeline toward us. Hey, hey, and the lady that was at the front office, she says, "Okay, that's Jose. I'm going to take care of him. You just keep doing your thing." Now, the ladies in the circle, her husband didn't want to be involved in this for whatever reason. He was sitting in front of the hotel. And so she says, "Oh, Jose, okay, why don't you come in? I'll give you a cup of coffee." And so they're talking, and then when she gets to the hotel, there's the guy, the husband guy, and he says, "What are you doing here?" And she says, "Oh, I'm going to give Jose here a cup of coffee." And he said, "You're going to give who what?" She said, "Jose." And she looks, and he was gone.
He was a
He was
ghost.
gone. He wasn't there. He was gone. And the husband, he saw the whole thing. He never saw Jose. He never heard him like interrupt us. And so when she left to take Jose, and she says, "You just keep doing this. Do not stop." And so she had the people that she was holding their hands with hold each other's hand while she did this. Okay, so they're off, and I'm like, okay, I got the ghost and found this nasty ghost, and he was nasty. He was like, and so I egged him, and he was like swearing, and he was ticked that he was incarcerated. He'd never been incarcerated. And I'm just like, oh, for crap's sakes. And so I said, I just put my hand from the top to the bottom, and I says, "Night, night, go to sleep." And he like fell asleep on the floor of the egg. And then we smelled this horrible stench that smelled like sulfur. I'm like, yuck, where's that coming from? Well, while he was asleep, we were able to get all the other ghosts out, and the eggs came and took them off and took them where they needed to go. I thought, well, shoot, I got this guy. What am I going to do with him? And so I'll wake him up. So I woke him up, and he's just like angrier than angry, but like confused. It's like, how did this happen? But then we smelled the stench again. Well, then then Ronnie, my Ghostbuster partner, when he was a kid, his father was always mean to him or something, and his mother died, and it just turned him into a total asshole. I said ass soul, not asshole. He was an asshole. That's a term Hal taught me one time. He said, "Hal, you certainly have a big problem with ass souls down there on Earth." I mean, yeah, Hal, I do. So,
Oh, ass soul, you're saying, yeah.
ass soul.
Yeah.
He's an ass soul. So his mom, Ronnie brought his mom back, and he turned into a little child, and they hugged each other, and then the eggs took them away. And after that, we smelled roses.
Oh.
Out in the middle of the desert, there are no roses out there.
Right.
So it went from the stench of the of the ghost to roses. So that brings me to, because I had wondered about smell, how, because Kryahgenetics has sound, color, geometry, light, love, compassion. I says, where's smell? You know, because I'm a real smeller. I love to smell things, and I smell things nobody else does.
Yeah,
and I
me
was
too.
getting that love and compassion, that the whole together with the magnetic fields and love and compassion can create essences and smells.
Yeah.
And so I thought, wow, okay, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. So Kryahgenetics has got everything in it.
Wow.
So do you have some questions so far? And are we about out of time? We're probably about out of time.
I love that there's so much that you do on the multidimensional plane, and that you also offer up these classes to allow people to, if they can do it, and
Exactly, get their game on. And I do have, I do offer sessions for people, but you have to kind of qualify. You have to do your work. You have to read Kryahgenetics 1 and Kryahgenetics 2, and you have to have your place gridded, and you have to work with the rocks. You have to kind of, you know, get your motor running on that, and then you can have a session with me. But I don't just do random sessions.
okay,
But
that makes sense. I have both your books. In fact, I was looking through them, and yeah, there is one more thing I want to talk about with you.
okay.
What was in your bio also, that you got a bunch of crossfire, that's what you say, in for exposing behind the chakras and all of that. And
Oh
I
yeah.
had a guest on, Carla Fox, to talk about chakra removal. I've removed mine about 10 years ago, and it was an amazing transformation for me in a lot of ways. I had pretty bad depression, and once I had my chakras removed, or I did it, I should say, once I removed my chakras, I no longer, I've never had that kind of depression ever. So, but the one thing that I didn't have her talk about was the Kundalini. And that kind of interests me, because I've heard that a lot just recently. People talking about, well, I had a Kundalini awakening. And
Oh, and they say, oh yeah, well it's like a near death experience, and most of the time it's not a good experience. It's like going to hell.
well, I don't know.
First
I've
of all,
never had one.
well, a lot of people that have, it wasn't that good. But about the chakras, um, when you, the chakras are an imposed system. They should not be there. And
Right.
if you've got like 50 or 120 or whatever, no, that doesn't make you special. It just makes you more more targeted. And so when you get rid of them, what happens is your figure 8 system, your heart star, your head star, and your loin star go into action, and the energy, so there's no energy that can go from your head to your loins without passing through your heart, or from your loins to your head without passing through your heart. Now, the Kundalini snake, however, can go up your back, bypassing your heart, and take take energy from your creative centers up into your head to make you crazy. And it can have, without interfacing with the heart core star, it can make you freaking nuts. Okay?
Well,
It's not a good thing.
I like that the heart core star because Carla, I did a quantum sphere healing training with her, and that's what we worked with is the core, this
Mm-hmm.
core, and I'm glad that you're talking about the energy system because people think, well, you can't remove your chakra, that's your energy system, and it's like, oh no, 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 that's a false overlay, and
Exactly.
so we still are energetic beings, but you just described it more like a spiral. It sounded like you said,
Well, what it does, if you see, um, and I've got a picture of this on my website somewhere where that guy's in the egg, and then it shows the heart star, the head star, and the loin star, and then a figure eight, like a figure eight racetrack that takes the energy through the system. And the faster it goes, the more aware you become and the more enlightened you become. I hate that word enlightened. The more savvy you become. and the more you remember about who you are. And that's what the Dark Lords did not want. They do not want you anywhere near that figure eight racetrack hardcore system. That's why they did the 7 chakras and the 21 or whatever to keep you in prison. And so you start doing this, and I think it's wonderful that you felt so good after you got rid of your chakras, because a lot of people do. And another thing, when I got rid of mine, and I got rid of my Kundalini snake and my astral body, I used to like get taken all the time, like having like cuts on me and come back with bruises, and I'm like, what the hell? And since I've done that, I have not been abducted once.
You're saying you were abducted, so, you were on the astral plane, and
I was on
abducted.
I don't know where I was, because I was always waking up with cuts and bruises, and like maybe like my arm had been twisted, and I'm like, what the heck? And I have not had any scary dreams. I have annoying dreams, but I haven't had any terror dreams since then.
Since you removed your astral body?
Well, since I removed them both. First was the chakras, then the snake, and then the astral body. And since because you're not going to all those creepy places on the astral realm.
Yeah.
So it can really up your game and up your ability to be in charge of your avatar, instead of having some asshole dictate who, what, when, where, and how you're gonna respond. So yeah.
Well, I've also heard someone talk about the pineal gland, saying that it's also an implant. Do you have any opinion on that?
I don't think it's an implant, but I think it's been messed with. It's definitely been messed with. It's not the pineal gland's fault, because I know they say, oh, it's the eye of Ra and blah blah blah, but if that's cleaned out, if you get rid of all these imposed systems, it can be useful for you, not detrimental.
Okay.
It's like everything else. It can be of service to you then, but you got to clean it out. And there's no easy way. You can't wish it away. You've got to like dig in and do the work. And it's hard, but it's harder to not do it and have these creeps messing with you all the time.
Yeah. So I understand. I had a few attachments in my life for sure. And doing the work, that's what you got to do the work. And part of that, you got
to roll up your sleeves. That's right.
Well, and part of that is knowing who your authentic self is, so that you understand it's like, wait a minute, this isn't me. So, that's always the first step towards this kind of work,
Exactly. And I just got to say something. When you said this isn't me, I get thoughts all the time, like stupid thoughts, like I'll be out cleaning the chicken pens and it'll say, "Oh, why don't you just take a bite of that poop?" And I'm like, "What? I wouldn't think that. That's the stupidest thing. What?" And then, of course, I said, "Screw you, losers. Up yours, losers. Down your losers. I'm not buying it." Now, what that does is send Kryahgenetics egg with a spinning star to whoever this was that sent this to me, drills into them, and infuses them with truth and justice juice. And that kills a lot of them. It destroys a lot of them. So that's my. Whenever I feel like I'm under attack, that's my words of choice. And you don't say "F you, losers." Okay, that just puts you in the point vibration. Just saying. If you say "Screw you, losers," it sends the Kryahgenetics egg with a spinning star, and it screws into them. And I will feel better instantly. Now, sometimes I have to say it 30, 40, 50 times a day when I've got a lot of assholes on my tail. But at least I get like 2 minutes of reprieve. And then they do it, and I say it again, and then pretty soon they're like, "Well, shit, that didn't work." So I guess we'll leave her alone.
Screw you, losers. Up yours, losers. Down yours, losers. I'm not buying it. Okay, that's great.
Exactly.
And I'm glad you told me not to use the F word,
not to say the F word.
That's my favorite word sometimes.
Because it goes up the food chain to the bosses, and you might be, maybe this is one of the bosses that was messing with you. And so we recently, one of the Indigos I worked with on the hologram rescue team, he said, "We need to do down yours, losers." I'm like, holy crap, we do. Because what if we get somebody at the top of the food chain? You want to get all of their underlings. So that just came online like maybe a month or two ago. So you're getting the latest.
The latest on how to get rid of these little
ass souls and ass no souls. They're, the digital ones are ass no souls.
Ass no souls and assholes. I like that. I just heard yesterday, I heard from someone who has been listening to my podcast from the start. And she, especially after the last couple guests that have been really clarifying how we've been attacked and how ways that we can be attacked in the dark side and how long it's been going on. And they were like, you know what? It's like, I'm no longer listening to those little voices that try and tell me I'm a piece of crap or whatever. And it's like, I know I have trauma to work through, but I'm not listening to them anymore. And I was like, yay, that is what I do this for, so that, yeah. And so it works. And thank you so much, LauraLee, for coming on and
no problem. This is a delight. Well, I told you earlier. I says I think I wanted to call this interview "Weird Shit 101." You got all this weird shit. Just it's like, okay, I got my baseline. Now I can go to the next level.
Okay, well, we'll get you back on. I'll get you back on here for Weird Shit 102.
Yes. 202 or whatever.
Yeah, however they used to do that. So, well, that's great. And
okay. Well, this has been a delight, and I hope you have a wonderful day and a wonderful year and a wonderful life. Okay. It can happen.
You too. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Take care. Bye-bye.
Don't forget to hit that follow button. Till next time, peace be with you.